Hey, folks, and welcome back to Glenn and Adrian's Rock Talk. Adrian, how's it going today?
Oh, it's going all right. How are you, Glenn?
Doing really well. I've been excited to do this episode for a while. We're going to focus on Moby Grape's second album called Wow.
Yeah.
And we're going after the second album because we figure if people know anything about Moby Grape, they already know that their first album is incredible. It's one of those albums from 1967 that you really owe it to yourself to have in your collection. It's just top to bottom fantastic. This one's a little more spotty. The story with Moby Grape is that they had a lot of bad luck. I mean, because they were really kind of slated for maybe even superstardom. And it just didn't work out that way. So I've got this, which came out in 1993, I believe. Yep, 93. Mm-hmm. This is a 2 CD compilation of Moby Grape. It has a number of the tracks from Wow, but what it really has that I'm interested in right now is all kinds of notes in here about what happened to the band. So I'm going to read a little bit of this just to explain what happened after the fiasco of the first album coming out, too many singles coming out at the same time, 5 all at once, which spelled doom for all of them. They're getting a manager that turned out to be not a good person and has, up till now, has blocked everything that uses the Moby Grape name. When they go out and play, they have to go out as, you know, the Grapes or the Melvilles or something like that.
Sounds terrible, all this stuff that's been going on.
Yeah, and that's like basically the half of it. I mean, well, yeah. But for example, he did block this after it came out. So I feel kind of lucky to have this. I don't know how many copies made it out, probably a fair number, but you can't get it anymore.
I hear that the Wow album was taken out of print in 2007.
They tried to re-release all the albums through the label Sundays, and I don't know what the deal was. Maybe I just don't know what happened. But apparently he blocked that too. To this day, it's very difficult to buy the Wow album. Because it's essentially out of print, and there's only a few CD copies that were made at some point. I don't think you can get them anymore except at a very high price. Although this did perform a little better than their eponymous debut. This made it to number 20 in the U.S., while the debut made it to 24.
Yeah, originally Wow was released with the album Grape Jam. It was kind of released as a double album, actually 2 albums packaged together. It wasn't an actual double album.
Yeah. One of our commenters said that they were shrink wrapped together when you went to buy the album, and maybe it was $1 more to get it.
It was $1 more.
Yeah. So we're not going to really deal with Grape Jam because it's really just a bunch of loose jams in the studio, and they happen to include Al Kooper and you said Mike Bloomfield? Yeah. And who were kind of a unit at the time. They went on to Super Session soon after that. And just to mention, while we're talking about albums, Moby Grape 69 was the one after Wow. And actually, I think overall, this is a better album. I think it's a little bit more consistent. Let's put it that way. It's not as adventurous. It's kind of back to songwriting and harmonies. So Wow's not really known for a lot of harmonies. They got really cut back on those, and there's a lot of extra instruments because first they were trying to record it in California, but partying got out of hand. I guess they were renting a beach house just down from the Buffalo Springfield, and so they got nothing done. These were all a bunch of young guys, So they just party all the time and weren't very productive. So they moved those sessions to New York, but then things went wrong in New York. And the fact of the matter is Moby Grape hadn't known each other very long when they got together. They all just kind of met roughly the same time. So Peter Lewis had some notes on this. Let me just read them. Said, "We were the next big thing. We were in the right place at the right time, and we were ready, but we didn't know what we had until we were through with that first album. Being in a band is about hanging out with the guys you like and who like you, and who can entertain each other even when you're not playing gigs. We didn't have enough of that. 6 months after we met, we were rock stars. That was horrible. Said another 6 months after that, they were trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Moby Grape reconvened in Hollywood with David Rubinson just 2 months after Moby Grape's release, which is 2 months after Monterey. The 4 songs recorded there, all featured in this set, boded well for a sophomore LP. Stunning electric versions of Bitter Wind, which is not what ended up on the album. And the Miller-Stevenson mini-suite, The Place and the Time, He, and Sweet Ride, a choppy rocker. But discipline had all but gone out the window. The band, living in a house in Malibu down the beach from the Buffalo Springfield, partied harder than it worked. Columbia, concerned about its investment, demanded that the new record be done in New York. And only He was saved from the unreleased scrap heap. So the band was thrown out of hotels all over Manhattan. Lewis quit at one point to tend to his disintegrating marriage, leaving 3 unfinished tracks, including Looper, which probably would have been a hit. And then Don Stevenson says, there was a schism. At least in California, we were in a band. In New York, we'd work with only 1, 2, maybe 3 guys at a time. All the strings and horns on the album were there to make up for the lack of having a band.
Wow.
Other things that happened, as we'll find out, Bitter Wind came off sounding like maybe a nice radio-ready track, and then they stayed up all night and changed the ending and turned it into this weird pastiche, which we'll play later on, which means it's never going to get on the radio.
Somebody tried too hard with the psychedelic effects, I think, with the second half of the song.
Yeah, there's a lot of that through the album, and as you kind of read through and understand what was going on there, I was like, oh, no wonder, It's like,
oh, yeah.
Spence had crossed the dark border from natural manic energy to drug-accelerated delusion. One day at the Albert Hotel, Spence went looking for Don Stevenson, drummer, with a fire axe. He hacked through the door to Miller and Stevenson's room, and finding it empty, headed over to the studio. They actually passed each other going in opposite directions. At the studio, it was left to David Rubinson to disarm Spence. The policeman who answered the emergency call refused to do it. He was jailed at the Tombs and then committed to Bellevue for 6 months. And that was that for him on that album. That was kind of that for him in the band for a while.
Be a deal killer. I guess I'm ready to hear some of the music. I know we're going to listen to some clips.
So in general, I'll just say up front, it's spottier than the first album was, which is not surprising given what was going on. Some of the songs are definitely essential, but some are also kind of experiments that didn't really work. Maybe things that sounded like a much better idea on a certain cocktail. But if you listen to it enough, you can actually kind of enter into the universe they created there that made them believe it would be a solid record. Like, honestly, there are a lot of times I can just let this record go on loop, no problem. But individually, sometimes some of the songs are not as strong. Yeah, so let's start with The Place and the Time.
Here to sing our words and song, finger chimes and wonder.
It could have been an inspiration for In a Station off Music from Big Pink. But I get a strong sense that they listened to the Beatles' She's Leaving Home.
Mother and father, think for yourself. This is the place and the time.
Like Broken Arrow.
Oh, yeah. I can hear some similarity now.
What's that walking through my You'll be blowing out your mind.
I hear a number of psychedelic motifs, but they sound a little too familiar somehow.
They all sound like they came from somewhere. Yeah, like a lot of it is kind of Sgt. Peppery. Buffalo Springfield, definitely. And a few other contemporaries of them around that time that I just can't quite put my finger on. So many good ideas, but too many almost.
It's not what you expect to hear after listening to Hey Grandma.
That's right, yeah.
It's very well produced and fits in with the times, but that's kind of the problem too, I guess. There's a lot of very familiar psychedelic motifs, as I said before, and the musicianship is good, as is the writing. It's just they overdid the production, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and keep in mind, this is only a 2-minute song, but I think I heard 5 separate ideas in there that all could have been developed into their own songs. It was almost like idea. Oh, you keep going, whereas, you usually want to take an idea and work with it a little and then, maybe string another. There's just so many all at once, and it was overload. But I see why what they were trying to do, I think. Yeah, so that one doesn't really succeed. Had a lot, but what it does show is that the people trying to make the music do have a lot of talent and a lot of inspiration. It's just that they're not really controlling it very well. That's
well, the producer is controlling it.
Yeah, that's true. And I believe this is Rubinson again, David Rubinson. It doesn't specifically state that he's producing it, but I'm gonna guess that he is essentially the technician. Maybe people can correct us if that's not true. And now we come to a song that actually gets covered a lot. A lot of different bands have done this. "Murder in My Heart" for The Judge.
After the last song, this is very refreshing to listen to.
Yeah, I agree. It's like kind of a standard.
Actual music in it.
Yeah.
They don't drown it in effects or any of the psychedelic motifs.
That's right, and it even ends in a pretty cool rave up.
Yeah, it's well produced. It's not too well produced, which is good. I like the guitar solo that's in the song too.
So it rocks.
The next song is "Bitter Wind."
This one, it had promise.
I like the acoustic guitars in this song.
Yeah, really sweet.
This where it starts.
No, it's got a one more time through, but here, we'll go up. So yeah, sounds great, right? And then it gets a little further.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good song, I think. Until.
There you go. This is what happens when you spend too much time in the studio. Backwards?
Just trying too hard, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever they're trying to do, they're trying too hard to do it.
I think it was the same thing. They were over-inspired. They had too many ideas. They go, let's keep going. We can make it even better. And this is what happens, But at least they ended it the same way they started it.
Yeah.
And just for a difference, let me play you a little bit of the electric version.
Even though there was another version of this song, this sounds even better.
Yeah.
Do they do the same thing in the middle of this one?
No.
Oh, good. I didn't think they did, actually.
Yeah, let's see how they end this one.
Goodbye, oh wind, goodbye. Goodbye to you. Goodbye.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I think. This one got rejected by Columbia. This is one of the ones they did in California, when they were partying with the Springfield too often, I guess. And you can hear problems in this one too, in how it ends, actually. They probably could have done a really majestic ending, if they were kind of in the same working situation as in the first album, where they're all buckled down and just putting things down as quick as they could and, not overthinking it. But yeah, I think the ending here also could have used some editing. Overall, though, it's a nice version.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm pretty impressed with it. It was the first time I've heard the electric version.
Okay, so this one's called
Can't Be So Bad.
And this is a rave up.
A rave up?
I mean, it's like that.
Oh, yeah.
From across the room, I want to ask her why. She looked so sad. She began to cry.
So this is great.
Yeah, I like it. It's pretty good. It's all classic 12-bar blues format.
Can't be so
For the most part.
bad.
Now they have these changes here.
Can't you see? see me here. I wanna talk to you.
So it ends like so. They switch to the harmonies and then have a great solo going out.
They'll get better, can't you see me? I wanna talk to you. Can't see me here.
Oh, brass in this one too.
Yeah, lots of brass.
Yes.
Saxophone, electric guitar.
Classic 12-bar blues with brass instruments and pretty darn good.
So this brings us to the Foxtrot Gene Autry track by Skip Spence. Now, Skip, being, the uncontrollable genius that he was, let's put it this way, generator of ideas in excess, decided he wanted to have kind of a 1930s sounding song. And more than that, he wanted it to run at 78 on the record player. When you went to play it, you had to get up and change your record player to go 78 RPM. This is kind of outrageous. Because what happens is, after Can't Be So Bad, you get a run-out groove. So the record will not just simply go and play the other song slowly. You actually have to get up, put it over the groove, change your record player to 78, and then play from there.
Hi there. Just reminding everyone that the next band is at 78 RPM, so kindly get up and change your turntable to 78. Thank you.
It sounded like a great idea at the time, I'm sure. Let me tell you, what a pain.
It's a funny little number, but it sounds like it should be played at 78.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And now, emanating from the Secaucus Lounge of the fabulous Fandango Hotel in Weehawken, New Jersey, we proudly present the celestial melodies of Lou Waxman and his orchestra, who ask the age-old musical question,
I would love to love you like I love to do. I'm told I can do nothing, it's true. You can only be to me what I used to be. Since I've been me lately, I find you hard to see. You're like heaven to me, driving me mad. Only I know how I can. With no one to look up to, what would you I'd look up to? And I'd be without you. Play low. Yes,